Well, hello there,
Good,
everyone.
right. Good morning, gorgeous.
Oh, oh, come on. What's the name? What's the name?
Mary J. Mary
Mary,
J.
Mary, Mary, Mary,
Mary.
Mary,
Mary.
Mary.
Tell Martha not to
Not
moan.
know.
I'm sorry. Sorry.
Black
Had a
history,
moment. Had a moment.
history is over, honey. Welcome back to Mike's Moms and Mayhem. I am your co-host Kelly, and I see we got a different co-host this. Woo, honey, because mommy ain't easy. Honey, momming ain't easy. And
No, it's not. No, it's not. And I'm Lillian.
hey, Lillian,
Hey,
Dr. Leah. I need that to
girl.
be a little more pronounced because that's a moment. And I know you have your reservations about it, but hey, honey, you are Dr. Leo. Dr. Leo.
But okay. Okay. Okay.
Give props where props are due, ma'am.
And
Ma'am.
I appreciate you, sis. I appreciate. But if you could just put them in my bank account,
Honey, say that
that's
part.
where they would be greatly appreciated.
That part.
Look
All
at us
right.
twinning today. Y'all, this was so organic. Look at us twinning today.
Oh, I was like, "Where's my purple?" And I had purple
Listen.
glasses a long time ago, and I was like, "Where are they? Where?" And I forgot my husband broke them. I was like, "Darn you, husband!"
They won't
Darn.
let us be great. They won't let us be great. Can't have
Look,
nothing.
right? I was like, "Why can't we have nice things? We
Just
just
can't
can't
have nice things.
have at
Just can't
all."
have nice
I
things.
was like, "Ooh," because I was like, purple lipstick, purple shirt, and then my purple glasses, and I was like, "Yeah, that's gone." So,
Yeah, it's a vibe. It's a vibe.
yeah.
Sis, okay. Before we get started, we gotta talk about how y'all, our audience, our mayhemians, I don't know what we gonna call y'all have been showing out here lately.
Ooh, honey. Listen, and look, and I'm a YouTube stalker. So, of course, I go on our page like every 5 minutes just to see where we are in our views. And y'all really liked last week's, actually last two
Yeah.
weeks, the Ivory Tower, the white masculinity. Honey, that has pricked something in somebody's spirit. Come on. Huh?
True story. Yesterday we were riding back home from the zoo.
Mhm.
And my little one was in the back. He had his dad's phone because he's probably the one child in the world that don't have a cell phone, which he tells us all the time. But he had his dad's phone and he says, "Mom, do you remember what I told Miss Kelly?" And I was like, "No, what did you tell Miss Kelly?" He was like, "Look at this." So he pulled up our girl, he was on our YouTube page in the back seat. He was on our YouTube page
He saw
and
it.
he had all the videos put up and he was showing me the views and he was like, "I told her I was gonna get y'all to 1,000 views. Look how close y'all are." And I was like, "Did you single-handedly do all those by yourself?" He was like, "Well, no,
He said he was going to
but
do. I still got this.
but y'all are so close." And he was like, "And I've done probably about 1/3 of those." And I was like, "Okay." He was like, "So you remember she said she was gonna get me an iPhone?" And I was
Right.
like, "I do remember the conversation. I don't remember the commitment." But girl, he had me hollering because he was just like, "I have single-handedly 1/3 of the way helped y'all."
1/3.
And he want his phone. He want him phone. Him want his phone. So I said, "I will make sure the message is passed and delivered because
Look, me, look, TT and the parents gonna have to sit down and talk about it.
child." And mind you, like school is over in less than 18 days. And we have already told him more than likely he will get a phone this summer because we just saw how things ran this year. And we're like, yeah, it's about time. He is just so impatient. So he is reaching for anything that he can do to
Honey,
get him a phone. And honey, he was like, "Remember, I told Miss Kelly."
TT got you, baby. TT got you.
Look, he can always get a track phone. Look, TT can help you with a track phone. Get you a
Yes,
track
I
phone.
can. Look, that I will agree with. Because I was very hesitant to say, okay, yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, because when he said iPhone, I was like, yeah, I know how much them cost.
Yeah.
Look, and with these tariffs, honey, that's gonna be even more. So yeah, TT was
Listen,
definitely thinking about
listen. Bless his heart.
hilarious. But
First of
yes,
all, the fact I'm thinking he's like playing games, watching our
right.
stuff, and he's like, "Look, this is what I'm back here doing on this road trip. I'm getting y'all some views." And I was like, "Okay, well, go off." So,
We appreciate you, baby. We appreciate you.
girl, it's the love and the effort for me
Listen, I love
because
it.
he,
I love
girl,
it.
between that, Uncle DL.
Woo! So let's give that a shout out, honey. We had a shout out from the real DL Hughley. Honey, you couldn't tell us nothing. I sent the snapshot to Lillian and I was just waiting. So I was like this. There's no bubbles. There's no bubbles. There's no bubbles.
Because there was no phone, because the phone
2 hours later.
flew across the room. I got up and I had a parade in my home. Like, girl, you
DL.
kidding me? We had to have a parade because
And I was like, okay, okay. But then I was like, I need them followers.
right. Can you share Uncle DL if you're listening? They tell me you have not because you asked not. So
Correct.
I'ma
Correct.
just say, look,
Yeah.
not half, not
Yes.
some, but if we could just get
Yes.
about an eighth to a third. Let's stick with the third.
Right. Let's do it. Let's do it. Yes, honey. Thank you, DL, for liking our clip that we quoted you on. Yeah, I think Mike's Moms and Mayhem might be the ish. Might be the ish.
It
Upcoming ish.
is to us, even if it's not to y'all, it is to
Absolutely.
us.
It is. Absolutely.
So thank you guys for all the support. Thank you for the comments. Like, it means so much to just be seen. Like sis said, we're doing it for us, but it hits different when we know that it means something to you guys as well. So thank you
Mhm.
so much for the support, the love, the views, the acknowledgments. It just really means a lot.
Yes. I want y'all to run over to our YouTube channel. I need y'all to smash that like. I need y'all to subscribe. I need y'all to leave a review, comment, because that helps our algorithm and that
Yeah.
helps our episodes shown more widely. So please run over to our YouTube channel and just like, subscribe, leave a review, all of that, comments, all of that. We would greatly,
If
great.
it, what we used to say in the church house, if you find it not robbery,
Ah,
please just if you would just stop by there and
stop by. He's so churchy, Lord. He's so churchy.
we have got to do our church episode. Okay, moving on.
All right. So now today, we diving into something just as real. We just gonna keep it going.
Mhm.
Um, and this is definitely a little more personal to us because we are moms raising teens in our home, right? So today's episode is called Parenting While Black. I love the topic. Parenting in a system that was not built for our babies, our children, our young men, our young ladies, our young adults. Whoo! Parenting
Girl,
while black. So, if you are raising a black child in this here America, you already know what we mean.
yes, we are raising kids in a world that often sees them as older than they are. Oh my gosh, that's a shouting station.
Woo!
Tougher than they are and more dangerous than they could ever be. So, how do we nurture their softness while preparing them for the world's hardness?
When we were
It's gonna
preparing,
be rough.
yeah, it is. When we were preparing for this and I was getting our script together and looking over
Mhm.
everything, I started watching Blackish. I never was a Blackish fan,
I
but
never was either. I just started trying to get
I started back, and when I tell you I have been laughing
into
out loud, I was like, why did I miss this? But it so just happened. I watched the episode of Hope. And again, I may be late to the party, but those of you who have watched the episode of Hope, that is when they were talking about all of the Black killings by the police and
Mm.
how, oh gosh, I just forgot the dad's name. But
Dre.
Dre,
Where's Dre?
Dre and Rainbow, how they
Dre and
were,
Ray.
honey, yes, I love Rainbow. But how they were trying to navigate their kids through the results of the court case involving the cops that killed a certain Black teenager. And of course, they got off. As Dre had one mindset of, we need to tell these kids, be point blank with what's going on. We don't need to sugarcoat. We need to let them know. And Rainbow, especially with the younger ones, the twins, she was trying to shy them away from it, taking them out from the conversation, removing them from the room where everybody else was having the conversation. When you was talking about how to nurture their softness, she said, I want them to remain as innocent as possible. I want them to know that cops can be nice. And Dre was like, no, they're not nice to us. So ironic that the episode came on, especially when we were going to do this episode. And I kept thinking, wow, that is how I was with my boys, because they grew up in the Trayvon Martin era. They grew up in the Tamir Rice era. They grew up with the Freddie Brown and Sandra Bland cases. And I was at the point where I can't hide what's going on. We have to be real because we're raising Black boys. They're targets. They
Yeah.
are the ones that I'm looking at on TV. And it was when all of this was in our face, and the pain, the agony, the fear that we as parents, we as Black parents had in that time. I remember so distinctly. How was I going to talk to our boys about this? That episode was so on point because it definitely talked about the things that I felt, I thought about. So, calling this system what it is, it's unequal, right? From the classroom to the courtroom, our children face disproportionate outcomes. My boys were in a dual language immersion school from kindergarten all the way up to, my oldest went to eighth grade. CJ went to eighth grade and Bryce went to fifth grade. But they were they were immersed in the Spanish language. So both of them are fluent in Spanish. Every time they reached these markers, there was a rule in the school that every time they reached certain markers, they would receive a letter from the gifted program saying, you have reached this marker, you are eligible to be a part of the gifted program. The testing will be such and such date. So the very first one I received for CJ, we was all excited. It was like, okay, all right. I didn't know about systemic stuff at that point, right? I was so excited. I was like, okay, so my child is maybe a little bit gifted, right? So he went and took the test and he failed. And I was like, what? Okay. All right. So I was like, don't worry about it. It's okay. You good. Look, we know as your parents, you gifted. You're gifted to us. So that's good. He reached another marker. He received another letter. I said, okay. So he went for the testing again. He failed. So I met with the teacher and I was like, okay, he keeps reaching these markers. So if he reached these markers, there's something that he qualifies for, but he keeps failing these tests. Why is that? Crickets. So I peeked into the gifted program here at this school, and what do I see, right?
A sea of homogeneity, perhaps?
So I'm going to say this again. We call this system unequal. From the classroom to the courtroom, our children face disproportionate outcomes. The U.S. Department of Education says Black boys are suspended at 3 times the rate of white boys. And Black girls, they're often punished for the same behaviors that are considered assertive or confident in their white peers. So let's think about that, right?
And it's funny you say that because not too long ago, I saw a clip that was talking about a study that was done in educators, and it was educators of all races and nationalities. And they asked them to observe a classroom setting, and they were watching on a video. So they asked them to watch this classroom activity or setting and try to determine where they had to hit a button or something to indicate that they saw anybody misbehaving in the classroom.
Mhm.
And they did the project. And then afterward, when they were debriefing these instructors, they told them that the point of the test, there was no misbehavior in the clips. The point was they had done this thing where they had eye tracking technology and they were looking at what students were the teachers more likely to look to when they
Mm.
anticipated behavior issues.
Mm.
And overwhelmingly, and this is the sad part, among all the teachers, to include the Black teachers and the teachers of color, they disproportionately looked and kept their eyes on the Black students in those classroom settings. And to piggyback on your experience, so y'all know I have two boys, and I'm gonna tell you something. Anytime they walk out the house, my heart is in my throat. Especially, I remember when my older son decided he wanted dreads. I was like, "Please don't do this. Please don't do this. Any other hairstyle but this, please." Right? Because now you just fit the description of everybody. And I can remember his school journey. You know, I was a single mom when he started, and I didn't know how to advocate for him the way I know how to advocate for my young one now. I didn't know how to articulate things back then. And I remember he went the magnet school route, which whatever that it was at the time, 10 out of 10 don't recommend.
Right.
And we didn't do that for our younger son. But I remember getting called into his kindergarten classroom, and his teacher was old as Methuselah. And she had this really reputation. It was an older white teacher who had been at the school for over 30 years at that point. And I remember she called me in for a conference and she wanted to talk. And I was like, okay. And we came in there and she was like, he's not doing what I tell him to do. And I was like, "Ugh, okay, what is he doing?" And she's like, "I'm teaching the lesson and I'm showing them the way to do things. And he takes it upon himself to find another way to do it." And I was like, okay, cool. And so it's causing you more instruction time because you're having to go back and fix the things he's got wrong because he's not following your way. And she's like, well, no, the answers are correct. And he's coming out with the same outcomes, but he's just not doing it the way that I told him to do it. And I was just like,
What?
I'm confused. And she was like, he needs to do it the way that I tell him to do it. I was in my early 20s at the time, and I didn't have the verbiage or the confidence that I had now. I remember I said, so he's not getting things wrong. He's just figured out his own way to do it. And that's the thing you don't like. And she said, that's correct. And I said, do you realize you just described every successful person in the history of success? They literally find their own way to do things. I told her at that time, I said, now, if he's getting the answers wrong and it's causing you instructional time or
Right.
disruption because you're having to say no, he's not learning the process, so he's getting this thing wrong. You got a valid argument with me, but the fact that he's still arriving at the same outcomes and he's just figured out his own way,
Yeah.
get your stuff, babe. Let's go to McDonald's. Like, what do you want me to do? And but this was in kindergarten, and that was not lost on me that this is kindergarten. Here you are as an educator, a seasoned educator in kindergarten, already stomping on my child's
Woo!
creativity. You're
Yeah.
already squelching his ability to think about things abstractly or
Outside the box.
differently,
Yeah.
outside the box. In
Yeah.
kindergarten, here you
Yeah.
are already
Yes.
putting your foot on his neck. And I remember there was a Black assistant principal, and I went and talked to him, and I was just like, and he basically was like, she needed to retire 3 years ago, but you can't push him out the door, which I get the politics of that. But he was like, I'm going to do everything I can to try to intervene. And he did. He
Good.
really stayed in my older son's life. He really tried to keep his pulse on him and see what was going on with him because he knew he couldn't just uproot the whole system. So he really
Right.
worked to try to maintain things within it. And I do appreciate him for that. But that just seemed to be the theme of his educational journey for a really long time. And it wasn't until, mind you, he went to the same school. He went to Head Start 2 years when he was 3 and 4. And that was the first time he had ever had a Black instructor.
Yeah, let's
And
talk
then
about
he did not have any other Black instructors until he got to fourth grade.
yeah.
And the one he had was the worst one you could have. And then there was one year, I think it was fifth grade, where he had all Black teachers. And I was just like, touchdown, touchdown. And it was just a different vibe. I didn't get the phone calls about behavior. I didn't get the missed homework calls. I just didn't get any of those calls because they were mamas, they were
Yes,
aunties,
yes,
and they
but
were able to manage things differently.
mhm.
And I remember he had a teacher, Miss Bland, Dawn Bland. I don't know why I remember her name, but I remember her name. But I remember her telling me, because she was a boy mom too, and I remember her telling me that they were using the statistics of the standardized tests on 8th grade or 8-year-old, 3rd grade boys to determine how many prisons to build because they
Ooh,
found there was a connection, there was a correlation
absolutely.
between standardized test scores and that demographic
Yes.
and how many prisons they were going to need. And
Right.
that was just like a moment where I was just like, oh my gosh.
Pipe,
And I so
pipeline from school to prison. Yeah.
Pipeline, it was heartbreaking, it was devastating, but that was the first time I ever felt like he had an
Wow.
educational squad that was actually
Yes.
looking out for him.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I do understand that. And to your point about gifted, I did
Mhm.
not find out my son had been tested and was gifted.
Mhm. Mhm.
So the magnet school he was in was K through 8. So he had been in that school from kindergarten all the way to 8th grade. Then he went to a magnet high school for the first 2 years. And it was not until maybe second semester of 9th grade or either first semester of 10th grade when he got his schedule and they had him signed up for advanced chemistry and Mandarin or Japanese or something, which I didn't even know they taught at that school. And I remember he was just like, Mom, this schedule, I can't. And I was like, yeah, let me figure out what's going on. So I called up there and I'm like, he's never taken a basic chemistry. How is he going to take advanced
Yeah.
chemistry?
Yeah.
And this language, he hasn't taken a language. So can we not start off with a easier language and then let him progress to this? And that's when I found out that he had been tested in K through 8 and was gifted.
Yeah.
No one told me.
Of
And
course.
so at that point, I asked his counselor, now you're going to have to treat me like I'm stupid and
Mhm.
explain to me what it means to be gifted. Because I
Mhm.
see his report card
Right.
and it ain't giving gifted. And
Wow.
so she had to explain to me that gifted did not mean straight A's. Gifted means I found another way. I found my own way or creative way, like you said, out of the box type of way
Yeah.
to learn things.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with the grades. And I was like, great, okay, cool, dope. So sign us up for the gifted curriculum that y'all have for the gifted students. She was like, there isn't one. And I said, "What do you mean?" And she said, "There isn't one. The only thing they would do was put them in AP classes." Now, you just said out your mouth, gifted didn't mean straight A's, but the only curriculum that you guys have for gifted students is AP.
Wow.
Make
That's a
that make sense for me. And I told her, I said, "You're setting him up to fail. He literally is in 9th or 10th grade. He hasn't had a basic chemistry class.
yeah.
Why would you put him in advanced chemistry?" Well, that's the only way he could stay gifted. So as a mother, I had to make a decision of whether or not I was going to allow him to be categorized and remain on this gifted path,
Right.
or if I was going to put him on another path because I knew like this was sabotaging him. And I was pissed off about that. And by that time, I could articulate myself a little differently. And I
Yeah.
told him that was absolute garbage, that I had to be the one to say, oh, take him off gifted.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they were going to put him in these classes and allow him to fail and then flunk out of school, which is what ultimately ended up happening. And I was just so heartbroken about that. As we said last week, we just can't ever be mediocre. You have to be this exception. You have to do all this stuff. If I'd have known then what I know now, I would have said, take him off gifted. He cool. We're fine. Because AP classes weren't going to help him in college anyway. I should have put him into dual enrollment
Yeah.
classes,
Yeah.
not AP classes. But no one told us that
No
because
one
they didn't want our kids to do it.
no one explains that
No
information.
one
Yeah.
explains that. You know, we have a very big dual enrollment population where we work. And if you look at the demographics, you could tell whose kids are benefiting from that.
Yeah.
I really hate that I wasn't in higher education at that time because I would have been like, take him off gifted, take him off of AP. We're gonna do this dual enrollment. You're gonna go ahead and get this college
But
credit.
did
I thought dual enrollment students had to be like straight A students where they would
right,
qualify,
right,
which I
right.
didn't know that was the thing. You just had to be in good
No
standing and
communication. No
no
communication.
communication.
Mhm.
And mind you, he was at a magnet school. All of those kids should have been dual enrollment students. All of
Yeah.
those kids should have been getting college credits, and they just weren't. So, to your point about the classroom, I've had my share of ups and downs with that. But
Yeah. Yeah.
anyway, Michelle Obama once said, I wake up every morning in a house that was built by slaves. That line shook the world. Every time I think about that, it's so powerful to see
Yes.
how far we've come and yet how far we still have to go. even as the first lady, she was still navigating within a system that wasn't designed with her in mind or
Woo!
her daughters. Hell,
Her
and
daughter.
being look quiet as kept or loud as it was kept, it wasn't designed for her husband either.
Absolutely.
Um, so if
Absolutely.
that was true for her in her situation and their position, how much more so is that the case for the rest of us? And again, they had a position of privilege. And if we were to classify Blackness, we would classify them in the upper echelon of Blackness. And they still had to navigate within this system. And even now, they do not want to put respect on Unc's name. They just really don't.
They
And
they not. They
they
not.
just don't. And mind you, this was the highest position in the land, and they
Power.
were having
Listen,
difficulties navigating it. So
listen.
just
And
imagine everybody else.
they were also brought up in this episode, and Dre was trying to explain to Rainbow. They had gone through this whole period of watching Black killings and watching cops get off. And, we had so much fear, we had so much hopelessness. And you remember that is what Obama's campaign was. It was hope, to build hope, to give us hope. So throughout the whole campaign, we started seeing that there may be some type of hope. Maybe we can get through this. After all we've seen, we're traumatized because it's been blasted in our face. And here, this Black couple, this Black family can now represent us in the most powerful position there is. They were voted in, and it was the inauguration. And you remember when they got out of the car and started walking and waving in the parade? I remember, and Dre said this, and it was so poignant. When they got out the car and started waving, everybody held their breath, because in a matter of moments, what could happen to this Black couple as they're walking? In a flicker of an eye, that hope would be gone, that hope would be lost. And then what do we have then? And I tell you, that episode was so darn powerful. You talk about hope, you talk about the hopelessness that we have, and we talk about parenting while Black. Every time, like you said, my child leaves and said, "Okay, mom, I'm on my way to work," and I always say, "Okay, baby, be careful. I love you," that kind of thing. And my heart just stops until he walks back into
Back
that
in
door,
that door.
right?
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
oldest one is in the Mecca, Atlanta, and he's on Life 360. Thankful for Life 360, right? And so
Listen.
I have notifications when he leaves his apartment.
Yes.
I have
That little
notifications.
when you hear that
Right,
little noise, you be like,
right.
okay, okay, we're okay. Yes.
No, it's just when you have to hold your breath when all of that. You have to,
Mhm.
I remember me and Cedric sitting down having these conversations with our boys. It is not the same conversations that's happening in these white homes, right?
No, no.
How it's so unfair when that happens. One of my favorite person up there with Elliot is Ta-Nehisi Coates, right? When I first learned about him and what he stood for and how he just was able to eloquently say what everybody else felt. In his book, In Between the World and Me, he wrote, "In America, it's a tradition to destroy the Black body. It is heritage." That's the system that we're up against. That's the system that we're parenting in. It's baked into housing, healthcare, hiring practices, and
Yeah,
education curriculum.
yeah.
So, this parenting while Black, we are parenting in this system. Last weekend, the statement we made was, how can we raise our children in this system that was not even designed for them? And you
Was,
said,
yeah.
"Ooh, this is gonna be our topic for next week." And this is how we came to this topic, because we still struggling in
Yeah.
this system.
First of all, I'm gonna take a detour for just a second, right? But do you even remember having to have those initial conversations with your babies of trying to explain what it meant to be Black? Like before we even get to the discrimination and these flawed and faulty systems that are by design meant to oppress, exclude, and debilitate, for them to even understand what it meant to be Black. So when I was preparing for this show today, so both my sons are Black is beautiful, and we are all different
Yes,
shades of Black in my family.
yes.
And I remember having to have the conversation with both my sons about what it means to be Black, and them both coming home and never bringing race up in that way, but always for both of them. And mind you, my boys are 11 years apart, so damn near a generation apart.
Mhm,
And for
mhm.
them to both have come home and had similar experiences when they're like, so yeah, we were coloring today and I needed a skin color crayon. And somebody handed me a black crayon and was like, oh, you're Black. And they're like, no, I'm not. I'm brown, right? And so trying to get them to understand how they categorize us and lump us all in this category of Black, even though our skins can be anywhere from albino
Yeah,
to midnight,
yeah.
was also a preparation conversation as well. My younger son being brought up in the midst of this Black Lives Matter movement, and them not understanding what it truly meant to be Black in that space. And I
Mhm.
remember one of my son's teachers, who was his first Black teacher, which he didn't get until fourth grade, um, calling me one day and was like, there was this situation and we tried to navigate the best we could, but my child couldn't understand. Bless his heart, because his heart is so big. And he didn't know. Something had happened nationally, globally, whatever. And it was this whole thing about Black Lives Matter going on. It wasn't the initial thing, but it was something that happened that kind of segmented that off and it got into the school systems. So mind you, he's in elementary school. So it
Mhm,
was something that the kids were talking about. And someone whose parents were way more educated than us and having different conversations than we were having with our child,
mhm,
their children were at school having conversations about things, and someone made the comment about Black lives, and my son said something to the effect of, "But all lives are important," or something like that. And baby,
I already know.
them Black kids was pissed at my son. Okay, them Black kids was like, "Did your mama not talk to you?" No, she didn't talk to you. Because we just did not have that conversation with him. And I'll take the L on that. We just did not think it was
Right.
time and we should have been preparing him.
Yeah.
But girl, and his teacher was a Black teacher. And I have to give her credit where credit is due, because she was like, now let me be clear, sis. He can feel how he want to feel. And that's great, because I have to look at all these kids and think they all matter too. I'm not
Mhm,
knocking that. What
mhm,
I'm saying is,
mm.
to de-escalate the moment, I took him and moved him away from all the Black people because
Maybe a
they was
protest.
in their feelings. And I was like, valid, valid, valid. And so as a mom, I'll never forget, I told my husband what happened. And he was like, why would he say that? I was like, because he truly felt that. He truly felt, this person is my friend, but I know this person and you're saying they don't matter. And he didn't understand what that meant, because we had not had those conversations with him. Our
Yeah,
fault, not his. And
yeah.
I remember I went, girl, bless my heart. I was talking to one of my coworkers about it at the time, and she was like, "Oh, you should get him this book, The People Could Fly, and do this." So here I am at Barnes and Noble, and ain't nobody Black working in there. Wasn't nobody Black, other, Latino, nothing. And I'm just like, huh. And so the guy's like, "How can I help you?" And I was like, "Listen, sir, we have a task ahead of us today. I need some books
Mhm.
about explaining race to children." He was like, "Say less," and I was like, "There's more."
Right.
And he was like, "Okay." And I was like, "It's a Black child." And he was
Mhm.
like, "That
Ah.
doesn't know he's Black?" I was like, "Right." And he was like, "Oh, were they in like foster care? Do we need to approach from that way? Was there like adoption?" And I was like, "No, it was
It's
ignorant parent. It was just ignorant parent."
it's
And
mine.
he just looked at me and I was like, "Okay, look, dude, it was me. I dropped the ball and I'm trying to figure out how to have an age
Right.
appropriate conversation with my son about race." And he was just like,
Ah.
got called out by a white dude at Barnes and Noble. That was not a good day. To his credit, we
Uh-huh.
did pick out a handful of books. And I came home and we started a conversation. So me and my husband, we sat down, we had a conversation with him. We asked him what happened and for him to tell us in his own words. And then we explained to him why that was so hurtful to Black people. And we explained to him why those students thought it was problematic. And when I went in, I was like, I am not going to teach you about Martin Luther King,
Yeah.
Malcolm X,
Right.
Madam
Right.
C.J. Walker. You
Right.
will
We
get
know
those
that.
in school. You
Right.
gonna get those in school. I'm gonna
Right.
teach you about
The
Black
others.
people you don't know nothing about. And I'll
Correct.
never forget the first Black person that I tried to educate him about was Mansa Musa. And I was like, listen, we're going to pick somebody that will grab his attention, right? Because this man was so wealthy and all. We're going to pick those outside of well-known Black people to try to talk to him about. But it created conversations. I bought him books. We were reading books about Blackness, and then we would have like time to talk about it. So again, before we can even worry about navigating these broken systems, we have to be able to have conversations with our kids to explain to them what it means, because they are all lumped in the same category. If a child don't know, they don't know. And at that time, we weren't letting him sit in our conversations about stuff. So he wasn't picking up that vicarious understanding or that observational learning, which again is our fault because we
Mm-hmm.
just did not have those conversations with him. But again, part of that preparation is explaining to them what it means to be Black and try to live in a system where, because kids, they're so innocent and they don't see color. They just, everybody's my friend. I've seen stories where you have a Black kid and a white kid, and they're like, "Can you cut my hair like this so me and Evan can be twins?" And the mom's,
Right.
"Oh my gosh, yeah." And then you go see Evan, and you like, now what? Wait a minute, you and Evan don't look nothing alike. But in their mind, they are the same. And so
Yeah.
it's really hard as a parent to have to be the one to point that out. However,
Yeah.
you rather be the one to point that out where you can kind of facilitate that conversation than for the world to point that out to them.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
So
good. That's good.
yeah.
That's good. The time my boys realized that, and not realize because I mean, I want to say we've always been the upfront parents. We definitely tried to be age appropriate in our conversations, not speaking too much or too adulty with our kids, but it was in their face. They had questions. Like I said, they were in this dual immersion. So as parents, we knew what it would mean if my children were fluent in another language, because when you think about being an adult and they grow up, they have this skill could propel them in a lot of areas, because if they're
Open
fluent,
doors. Yeah,
right. And
definitely
so
open doors.
this is my thought process that, and this was a charter school, a brand new charter school they were just building. And thank God the position and the role that I was in, I had an in, right? So I was like, hey, can I get my kids in? They was like, yeah, we got a spot. And so I was able to get my oldest son in first. If you have a child already in there, my younger son, when he was able to start school, he was able to get in. My oldest son was the first to go through from the beginning, when they first started the school, all the way through. So his class was the first to go all the way through.
Hmm.
But he was one of two Blacks in that whole class, two or three. I think it was two. But he was one of two Blacks in that whole class. And it was Hispanics and then whites and then my son and then another young lady. And he had this close knit group of friends throughout the whole time he was there. And they were cool. I was friends with their parents, and we would go to each other's homes and hang out. And they would go to each other's homes, hang out. I think it was sixth or seventh grade in the middle school. One of his friends said something that was off to him. I did not know this until years later. And I was like, why do you tell me? And he was like, cause you crazy. And you know this man, right? So, but he was like, I
Look,
can tell you because I know what you would have done. And I said, well, how did you handle it? And he said, you and dad taught me how to handle certain situations. And I did that. And I was like, so where do y'all stand? And he was
what'd you do? Yeah, what
right. And
happened?
he was
Yeah.
like, we were still cordial, but he was at arm's length because I had to protect my boundary. I was like, yes, he learned something, right? But it was not until years later, because he was like, Mom, I know that you would have gone off on his parents, because the first thing you would have said was,
Whole family would have called it.
he said the first thing you would have said was, well, he learned it from somebody in that house. And I was like, you're correct, right?
I have yet to hear a lie. I have yet to hear a lie.
So he was like, and no, he didn't call me crazy, but he was like, "Ma, I know what."
It's so funny that you say that. Remember the situation I was telling you we had it with my younger one at school?
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
up there. I was
Oh,
on
yeah.
one wheel. Damn, I don't even think the other three wheels was on the ground because I was on some ass and elbow. I'm getting to my baby stuff. After the situation was over, the fact that my baby was like, I knew this was a call you situation because I knew that if I just showed you who this person was, it was gonna be handled. And I was like, it was. And my husband was like, we don't fight kids. And I'm like, speak for yourself. Speak for
He used to say
yourself.
that all the time. When I would fight some kid for my baby. Listen, these are my babies. I gotta protect them at all
All
costs.
costs.
All costs.
Let me quote something one of my students told me. And I did get her permission to adopt this as my own because I don't want to plagiarize. But sis said hands is rated E for
Everybody.
everybody. I feel like our boys are like, I don't know, my younger one is hit or miss. His
Uh-huh.
heart's in the right place. But I think my older one and your boys are in the same wavelength. They're not going to just run a bit in somewhere, rah, rah. They're not going to start stuff. They're just not those types of boys. Now, you start some if you want to.
Right.
They're closers. That's what we're going to
Closers,
call
yes,
them. They're the closers
yes,
because they're not going to start it.
but
They call them benedictions. We're going to call them preachers because benedictions is happening because
and it
they
was
going
no,
to shut it
and
down.
most of my boys are also black belts, right? So look, I didn't have no problem. I wasn't no.
Listen.
There was no problem. We don't teach them to be violent or
No, don't. They're not instigators at all.
physical
No.
at all because we knew as targets they would be the
Yeah.
ones to get
They
in
would be,
trouble,
yeah.
sent home, expelled,
Yeah.
whatever. So that is why we had those conversations with them. But come on now, you're not gonna push and
And I
push.
will say, my younger son has calmed down so much, and I'm so
Listen,
thankful for that
I was scared of your
because
son for a while.
sixth grade was a life-changing year for him. Because when I tell you pre-K through the beginning of sixth grade, he wanted minutes and he wanted smoke, and anybody could have got it. And that was just the energy he had. He was just walking around like,
I wonder where he got
did
that
you look
from.
at me?
I
Girl, I'm
wonder.
gonna tell you who he got it from. He get it from his mama because listen, don't come for me unless I send for you, and I ain't asked you nothing. Nothing. To go back to that situation he had, it was refreshing because he's such a sweetheart. He really is, but he is not gonna back down. And if you talk crazy, he's gonna pop back crazy too.
Yeah.
That's just how he is. When we got there, we were talking to the teachers and stuff, and they were like, he actually was trying to de-escalate this situation. He actually was the one that was like, okay, y'all, everybody take a step back. And
Yeah.
then the
Yeah.
person did not want that to happen. And so of course he was like, I tried,
I did what I
so look, you sure this is what you want to do? Okay.
yeah.
I'm proud of him for that. Talking about preparation, especially for my younger son. My older son, he is can you imagine? My younger son is me manifested. He is my audacity and my husband's fearlessness. Yep, my older son is the opposite of me. He is very introverted. He's very quiet. Sometimes I'll be like, when have I seen him laugh? Let me
Yeah.
go see it, right? There'll be days when I'll be like, there's no new dishes from him. Have I seen him eat? Let me go lay, like my friend said, let me see the whites of his eyes.
Right,
And I have
right,
to go in the room and be like, hey, buddy, you all
right,
right? He's on the game. He's good. I'm like,
right.
what are you eating? He's like, I ate some on the way home. And I'm like, okay, all right. I just have to go because he's very
Yes, that's on
introverted. He's self-entertained. That's him.
Mhm.
But it was hard to try to navigate this space of telling our kids to tell, because that was our thing. Tell an adult,
Yeah.
tell the teacher, tell this person in authority. And both of our boys in different situations, they're always like, we can't be snitches. We can't be the snitches. Cause that's the expectation of Black community too, that when you see something, you don't say anything. And
Yeah.
here we are trying to tell them, but don't let people hurt you. You got to tell. And they're like, get hit in the bathroom or go be a
Right,
snitch.
right, right,
I'm
right.
gonna just get hit in the bathroom. Right. And
Yeah.
we'd be like, no, no, no. Right. So it was hard to try to teach them and get them to understand why it was so important that they get an adult involved, because we knew if you don't, you're going to be labeled. And something we said earlier, they think our children are older than they are. My baby is a chunk. He is a chunk. And he has been big since he came out of the womb. And
Yeah.
people look at him and they think he's much older than he is because of his size. And we've had to have those conversations with the school too.
Yeah.
Just because he's a bigger child, he's still in the same class with these other students. So they are in the same age
Ooh.
range. So you cannot expect him to know things that all children in this range don't know. We had a situation at the summer camp, which last year was our last year of summer camp. Thank God he is aged out of summer camps. Because my gosh, but we had an issue last summer where he would tell us this little boy was hitting him. He was like, Mom, they got all the kids mixed up together. We were supposed to be separated by age, but apparently there weren't enough kids to do that. So they got us mixed up in these groups. And there's this one little boy, and the little boy was like 6 or 7. And my
Mhm.
child was like 10, getting ready to be 11. And he's like, this little boy always starting stuff with people. He always messing with people. I'm just sick of him. And we're like, well, go tell, go tell, go tell.
Mhm.
And so then my husband, when he goes to pick him up, they're like, hey, we had an incident today. We need you to sign this thing. And my husband's like, what happened? And when they told him what happened, it was that same little boy was
Mhm.
messing with our child. And he was like, man, go ahead on, go ahead on, go ahead on. And the little boy kept egging him, kept egging him. And finally, the little boy punched him or pinched him, or no, the boy bit him. That's what it was. The boy bit him. And
What?
my son whopped his ass. That's what happened. He molly-whopped him. And they were like, we understand the little boy did something first. That's not the issue. The issue that they had was how much force my son used. And I was like, in what world? And they were like, because he's a bigger kid. And I said, yeah, I'm going to have to call bullshit on this because, and I talked to the lady and I said, he's still a kid. If y'all didn't want 10-year-olds of whatever size to be exposed to 6-year-olds of whatever size, then y'all should have navigated that space. But y'all have them together. This boy has been repeatedly doing stuff. My son has told y'all that he's doing stuff because he's told us that he's told y'all that he's doing stuff, but you're not doing anything about it. This
Yeah.
boy bit my son and he reacted back. And you're gonna say, because it wasn't an issue with he retaliated because they saw the little boy had did the thing first. It was how much force. And we're like, yeah, you're gonna have to find something better. Like I told the lady, I said, had that 6-year-old lady, my 10-year-old out, we'd be having a different conversation, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
would have never said, well, oh, that 6-year-old, you're too much force. It'd have been like, wow, he bested this big kid. So, that idea that we have to teach them differently because and then when my son would do certain things, they'll be like, why is he acting like that? Because he's a kid. Just because he's a big kid and he's in the 95 percentile does
Yeah.
not mean he's still not a regular 6-year-old,
Right.
7-year-old, 9-year-old. And the fact that you're expecting him to be so emotionally mature when no one else in this situation is unfair to our boys. But that's what you do. Let me tell you, black men can't be emotional. They can't be hurt about things. They can't be sensitive. They can't be vocal. They're just expected to just hold all this stuff in the turn. Oh, shake it off. You got your bell wrong. Get up, run it off, like this kind of thing. And so it's hard to get them prepared for certain things because you don't know how to prepare them. Are we snitching? Are we
Yeah.
handling business? Because
Yeah.
either way, they're wrong. Either way, they're wrong.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
I, and that's hard.
Darn
It's
if you
just
do,
hard.
darn if you don't. Yeah.
You darn if you do and you darn if you don't. Every parent wants to protect their child, but parenting while Black means that we don't always have that luxury. We have to have them prepared. And I know for us, it's having a plan. Okay, if you walk out of the house and this thing happens, even having that conversation with my older son, I was thinking about this when you first opened up the show and we were talking. The fact, this is how you know this problem is not just Black people, woe is men, or in our feelings. The
Mhm.
fact that Apple had
Mhm.
to come up with a program for their phones where if you get pulled over, you can activate the like I've been pulled over feature and it will automatically call the person in your emergency contact. It will automatically start recording and videoing.
Wait, what?
Yeah, this is a feature within the Apple phone. And when I found this out, I immediately ran to my older son. I was like, did you know this thing? He was like, yeah. I was like, activate this in your phone immediately. I have to ask him exactly what it's called, but that's exactly what it is. So if they get pulled over, it will automatically call whoever's in their emergency contact. It'll automatically start recording. The fact that they had to come up with that
Right. It's
is
telling.
indicative of
Yeah.
how big this issue is. We had so many
Wow.
problems happening that Apple had to come up with a solution.
Wow. I did not know that.
Yeah. So we not just po-mouthing and woe is me and y'all. This is a legitimate issue. This is a bigger systemic problem of being prepared.
Wow.
Yeah.
We are divided families, but my boys have apples. That will definitely be a conversation
Yeah.
I will be having today because I did not know that.
Hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
Girl, when I
Wow.
learned that, I could not run across the house fast enough because I was just like, "Oh, no, no, let me see you cut it on." He was like, "Mom, it's already on." I'm like, "Okay, yes, yes."
Woo!
Yeah.
Okay. All
But
right.
again, that shows y'all we're not just making this up, and
No,
this isn't just, well, that's just your experience. This is
no.
the bigger issue because why would they do that? Why would that even be a thing if we weren't having all these problems, these senseless killings, these police brutalities, these
Yeah.
violence? Why would they even care to create the feature if it wasn't a big enough problem?
Yeah, to have the thought. Wow. Wow. Well, speaking of, there's this quote. We got a lot of quotes this
That's
week
all right,
because
sis. Give them to us. Give
they
them to us.
they fit so well. But there's this quote by Dr. Joy DeGruy. I believe that's the way you pronounce it. She authored the book entitled Post Traumatic Slave Syndrome, right? Post traumatic slave syndrome. Honey, that's a conversation, right? But she said
Hmm.
racism is like smog. You don't see it, but you're always breathing it in. And we're trying to parent in this smog. Is that not a word? Teaching our children to breathe whilst not suffocating ourselves in this process. How do we do that? So we're talking about protection and preparation, right?
That makes me want to cry so bad. Oh, I'm not this week. I'm not. Girl, as psychology majors ourselves, right? Understanding this idea of complex PTSD, right? And I was trying to explain this to my students. It's one thing to have something bad happen to you,
Mm,
and it's bad enough to trigger this stress response. Think about situations where there's repeated exposure to trauma, where there's repeated incidences of trauma, where you can't escape that trauma. And I do believe I've heard of Dr. Joy DeGruy, I can't remember what he said, but I
mhm,
remember hearing something about how they were doing research on people who lived during the civil rights era to look at how post traumatic stress
yeah.
was manifesting itself as a result of racial tensions. Because again, it was repeated. It's not just, oh, this one bad thing happened to you this one time and it triggered this event. It was repeated instances that I can't get out of it and it's always in my face,
Mhm,
and how
mhm,
that has
yeah.
longer lasting implications for you in terms of your stress responses, your anxiety, your depression, your mental health, all these things. So, as we're teaching our children the rules, and I don't mean just our household rules, but
Mhm.
these unwritten rules, these nuances, these social mores, these
Ooh,
expectations, um,
yes,
girl,
yes, yes.
I remember when I told my son, if you don't put all them damn hoodies up,
After Trayvon Martin.
do not
Yes,
put on another hoodie. And they
yes.
love hood. All the kids love
Them
hoodies.
too.
When I
And
dropped my younger one off at
right? I know
school, it's
they got hoodies.
girl, it's 7:30 p.m. It's 95 degrees. Why y'all got on hoodies? I don't
Right.
understand. It's
Yes,
all year long. All
yeah.
year long. My son has on one today. And I'm in the house and I'm just pouring sweat. And
Wait.
he's just like sitting in a hoodie. And I'm like, I don't, okay. Girl, my older son had on a hoodie and shorts. And I was just like,
Hey, that's what they do. That's what they
hot
do.
enough for shorts or cold enough for hoodie, right? But
Right.
that's a part of that's just who they are. That's what they
Yeah.
wear. And I remember being afraid. I
Yes.
remember saying, "Don't put on another hoodie. Give me all them hoodies," right? That thing. So, not wearing a hoodie. Don't put your hands in your pocket in the store.
Ooh.
Keep your tone even. Me and Hubs had to have a conversation with our older one, and especially this idea about when he started driving.
Mhm.
You rather be alive wrong than dead right.
Yeah.
Let him have it. Okay, yes, sir. Nope. Yeah, okay. You
Yeah.
right. I'm not gonna argue.
I think was I need you back home.
I need you back
You do
home.
what you need to do back
Get
home.
back home.
Yep.
And
Yep.
girl, it ain't just our sons. Like parenting is one thing, but I know every now and then Hubs would have to go in when they used to have to do duty officer rotation, and he
Mhm.
would have to go in sometimes at night to do an in service or something like that. Girl, I would be on pins and
Yeah.
needles the whole time because I'm like, when people look at you, they make assumptions. They don't know. My husband has worked in mental health for over 20 years. They don't know he is this gentle giant who loves what he does, who's all about helping disabled people and helping mental health outcomes. They don't
Yeah.
know that my children literally let me kiss their jaws
Yes.
and nosy them and snuggle with them. All they see is these Black men, right? And so teaching them how to just be silent and be respectful. Move your hands slowly. Keep your hands at 10 and 2 when they stop you. Make sure you have your seatbelt on. All these different unspoken rules
Yeah.
of Blackness that you don't have to have with other people. I can take it a step further and say these were conversations at one point we just had to have with our Black boys.
Mhm.
Now we got to have them with our girls too.
Absolutely.
Now we
Yeah.
have to have them with all of our children, because again, I just need you home. I just
That's all.
need you home.
I would take their registration and their insurance cards, put it in an envelope and put it in the visor. I don't
Girl,
reaching for nothing.
nothing. I bought the little book. So you know how you get the little
Yeah,
catalog with all that random stuff you don't need? I saw some
yeah,
little book and I, like you said, registration on one side,
yeah.
the insurance is on the other side, put it up. So all you have to do is sir,
Take
I'm
it
just gonna let it fall,
right,
let them pick it up. Just
right,
don't even do that. Just don't
right,
even go there because it's just the unwritten
right.
rules,
And the fact that we have to have these
these
conversations.
conversations. Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
give them armor, right? But we still grieve the fact that we need to have it in the first
In the first
place.
place. In the first. What
Oh,
I was thinking about earlier too? Black culture, right? If you look back over the Black TV shows of
mhm,
our era, of our culture, there was always an episode where they went to church
mhm, mhm, mhm.
or had something to do with church,
Yeah,
and there was always a racial profiling issue.
yeah.
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, it was Carlton got put over for being Black in the neighborhood with a car, and him just saying, "But they were doing their jobs, right?" And Uncle Phil having to say, "That's the same question I asked when they pulled me over, right?"
Mm.
A different world when they went to the baseball game or a football game and then somebody spray painted the N word on the car and they ended up
Oh,
getting
yeah,
locked up because they had
yeah,
to
yes, yes,
fight.
yes, yes, yes,
There
yes,
was
yes,
that one,
yes, yes, yes.
right? Family Matters. There was the issue where somebody spray painted the N word on Laura's locker.
Uh-huh, uh-huh, Come
Like
on,
that.
come on, Stove.
But
Come
the
on.
fact that we had to
Yeah,
make that a part of our culture,
yes.
we had to address those issues.
Mhm.
The
I get
the fact that
it.
these things had to be a part
Yeah,
of even
for
our
sure.
entertainment culture, and they resonated with us, right? Every Black show would have those serious issues where they had to address
Mhm,
those
mhm.
hard topics because that was what was, oh my gosh, Rock. Remember the show Rock?
Yes. The
Rock, every show on Rock was about
Especially
serious
it
issues
was
in
because
the
he was
community.
mad all the time. He was
Listen,
mad all the
Rock was
time.
gonna fight
Yeah.
all the time. I love Rock though, girl. I be looking back at them
Oh,
episodes like, get them, get them.
Ooh,
Because
I
what
need
you
to go
not gonna do,
find
you ain't
that. I
honey,
need to go
Rock say, I
find
don't care. You ain't gonna talk to
He
my
was
wife
he
crazy.
was
You
mad
ain't gonna talk to me
all
crazy. You ain't gonna mess with my
my
brother. You ain't
brother.
gonna mess with my daddy. You ain't gonna mess with my neighborhood. Every episode of Rock was serious. But the fact that was just ingrained in our culture and it was a part of our gosh, entertainment of
Yeah,
how people are navigating these situations shows you just how big of a problem this
yeah.
was in the Black community.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh, yes. You talked about not just our boys, but our husband. And I have to share this. Of course, my husband is diagnosed with Parkinson's, and with Parkinson's, it's tremors and the shakes, as we know. And so that was a fear that we always had before he stopped driving, or if he was in the car with us and he would have episodes and the police officers didn't know, and we would have to say immediately, my husband has Parkinson's, he's shaking, so he's just not on drugs and all this other stuff. But those were the fears that I had with my husband. So yeah, it's not just our Black boys, but it is our men who also have to be protected because they are targets as well, which is clear from the Freddie Brown, all the older men who have been shot. Going back, when you say all this trauma that was in our face, back to back to back, that was the first go round for Trump. Again, I'm using my word, embolden these races. Cops issue was so high and so big, and it was in our face, and the trauma we all had, it was back to back. It felt like it was something every week, every other week. The school shootings, it was all this violence that was back to back to back. And as Black parents, as the Black community, we were afraid. We were
Afraid.
fearful.
Afraid.
And how do we navigate this space now? I know for me, I didn't want nobody to go out.
Where you finna go? Stay up
No,
at home.
and that is when DoorDash became popular. I didn't want nobody
Yeah.
to go out. So another really quick story when we're talking about our boys and them having interactions with the police, when they do have the interactions, what to do, how to keep your stance, how to 2019. At the time, my sons were 16 and 13. They were outside. We had a basketball goal. My boys played basketball. They played basketball all throughout school. So they were outside playing basketball as they do so many times. Um, and so as it got dark, they were wrapping up. When they walked in, my younger son had his hand on his chest, breathing hard. And I was like, what is wrong with you? I was like, y'all played that hard? He was like, no, Ma. We just had an encounter with a police. I said, what? And this is how they explained it. The cop got out the car. No, hey, no nothing. How you doing? He said, okay, this is how it's going to go. If I make this shot, you both give me 20 push-ups. So the officer took the ball. Of course, he made the shot. It goes in. And so my boys, not knowing, let me be respectful. So they dropped and did the push-ups. So when they finished, my oldest son reached out to shake his hand. The cop just got back in the car and drove off. So we talk about not having the verbiage, not having the understanding at that time. They came in and visually they were shook, right? And I was like, oh, well, maybe he was trying to be nice because we had several cops that lived in the neighborhood and they used to drive by all the time. So I thought, okay, don't be scared of the police. Again, trying to keep their softness, whatever. And then I thought about that thing. And I was like, wait a minute. So you didn't say hi. You didn't introduce yourself. You didn't say, hey, what was
Let me
the
let me see if the
score?
old boy still got it. Pass me the ball. Let me see if I can.
Right.
But that could have been a totally different experience if he would have
That
just took a moment to be like, "Oh
is
man, let me see if the old boy still got it. Let me see if the old man can put one in."
totally
Totally
different
different experience.
experience. And not only that, that could have been one way, but it could also have gone the other way, right? And we were not out there. We were not able to protect them. And I'm thinking, okay, what do I do? So of course, look, I put it on Facebook. I was like, okay, I need your opinion. What? I got a whole bunch, maybe he was trying to be nice and trying to, but then there was some that no, he was trying to assert his dominance. Because again, we've already gone through Trayvon Martin, we've already gone through Tamir Rice, we've already gone through Sandra Bland, right? So he knew
He
he
knew
was
what the
doing.
temperature was.
He knew what he was doing.
Oh yeah.
He knew what he was doing. But the thing that scared me was that we were not out there to protect them.
It could have went left and you wouldn't have
It
not you wouldn't have
would have
even known.
not
Wouldn't have
known.
known. It's a chilling example, a moment that others might interpret as harmless fun. But to our children, to us, it was a moment of confusion, fear, uncertainty, fight or flight kicking in. And what if our children would have chosen to fight back? Then they would have been wrong, right?
Right, right.
Survival instincts kicking in, and it says everything about the world they're growing up in. And I remember July 13th, 2013, when George Zimmerman was acquitted. And I remember being at home. My son at that time had just turned 11. And I remember him watching this situation unfold in real time. And I'll never forget when he was acquitted and found not guilty, the look on his face. And he looked at me and said, "But I don't understand. He killed this person. Like he just knew the justice system was going to work for us in our
Mm,
favor. And when it didn't, he was so confused. He was
mm,
so hurt. And me and Hubs trying to have a conversation with him and explain to him that it's a different set of rules for us,
yes.
that it doesn't always play fair and it doesn't always pick favorites and right doesn't always win. And that's something we have to prepare them for too. This idea that the system doesn't always work for us. So even though we tell you to tell, you
Mm.
can also be killed for going to tell. The people who are supposed to protect you can also be the people that end up hurting you. And it's
Yes,
just hard. It's really
yes.
hard to know what to
What
do.
to do? What to do? That was the point that Dre was trying to make to Rainbow on Blackish, because Rainbow was like, "Well, the police officers need to do what they're supposed to do," and Dre was like, "Yeah, but they're doing it in the system that's not helpful to us. It doesn't protect us. It doesn't protect our kids. And we're seeing these cops getting off on these killings. And what are our children supposed to think? Yes, it's supposed to be confusing. It is confusing. Brittany Cooper said Black children don't get to be children. And that's the root of it, right? They're rushed into adult assumptions without adult protection.
And you wonder why they just can't be kids because you don't let them. And a lot of people in our generation, sometimes we had to forego that childhood and not being able to work through those things or have that protection, right? That innocence
Yeah.
being stripped away way too early, way too soon, where they didn't get to navigate those spaces safely and ask questions. And the implications of that are so deep, they're
Yeah.
so far reaching. And we may never, ever understand the gravity of what that meant to look at children and make assumptions and take away their childhood. I know we've run over, but I remember um, my son, girl, okay, first grade was a bad year for my son. Let me just say that.
Your older son?
My younger one.
Okay.
First grade was hell for a lot of reasons because in the midst of all this other crap, we had COVID. So it
Mm,
was just a rough year.
mhm, mhm.
But when we started, we were so optimistic because he had a first time teacher. And anybody who know anything about education, who you want teaching your baby is a first time teacher because let me tell you something, they are passionate. They are not disenchanted yet. They're not burnt out. They're not overwhelmed yet. They are just passionate and hungry. They're creative. They're innovative. They just want to do things. Look, they still buying school supplies out their own money. They don't know nothing about nothing. They just excited to be teaching.
Yes,
And we were
yes.
so happy to
Mhm.
have this lady until
Hmm.
first year teachers don't always grasp the classroom management aspect very well.
Mm.
And it was to the point where it's like every day he was coming home, it was either a red light or the sad face. I don't remember what they was doing, red light,
Ah,
green light, sad face, something. But
the
every
clips.
day, girl, every day it was something. And we're like, what the hell is going on? And so we're like putting him on punishment. He's getting in trouble. And so one day, Hubs was like, I got something for his little behind. I'm gonna do a drive-by up here at this school because what in the world? We ain't gonna have this today.
Right.
Hubs goes up there, whole class in chaos. Teacher sitting at the desk trying not to cry, class jumping around, people standing in chairs. He said at one point he had to go in there and pull one child's hands off another child's neck. And she just sitting there and he like, hey bruh, gotta get your head in the game. Like she just couldn't manage it, right? And so we had to have a meeting with her to explain to her when you tell parents that their
Mm.
kids are doing things, our kids get punished.
Yes.
And there's implications to that. So here we are punishing him for doing nothing but being a kid. You could manage it. And so all of a sudden we started noticing he was getting labeled in a very specific way. And girls, I got a call one day from his teacher, and she's like, hey, we had a situation in the bathroom where somebody wrote some profanity or graffiti or something on the wall and blah 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 blah. And I remember it was so stupid, but she was just like, I can't figure out who did what. So I know your son and his best friend, who were another Black boy, they always be doing stuff, so I'm gonna just have them clean the bathroom because I don't really know what happened.
Right.
And I was like,
Nope.
say what now? And she
Right.
was trying to explain this thing to me, and I was like, let me be clear, sis. Let me be clear. Nothing about what you said makes sense. But if my child comes home this day, and I told her this just like I'm telling you, and I said, if my child comes home this day and notifies me and or his father that you had him
Woo.
cleaning the bathroom,
Ah.
we're gonna have a problem. And she was like, well, I'm gonna have to punish it in some kind of way. And I was just like, I don't think you understood what I'm saying. So I tell you what, let me not talk to you no more. I told her, I see now,
already know.
we gonna
Right.
have a problem. I hung up with her. I immediately called the main office. And they had one black assistant principal at the time. And I got on the phone with her because she knew us, because she used to call us the Obamas, and it really pissed me off that she would do that.
Right, right, right.
But she knew, you call about my child, we both coming.
Mhm,
We
mhm.
both coming
As should,
together.
should. Right, right.
And so I called her and I told her, and she was like, how do you even know that? What do you, whoa, whoa, whoa. Girl, long story short, this happened in the girls' bathroom.
What?
My child was not even in the girls' bathroom
Why would he be?
because it's the girls' bathroom. The handwriting was sloppy and they couldn't make out what it said. But another little girl came in there and was like, ooh, somebody wrote something bad on the wall. And so when the teacher looked, she told girl, because we ended up having to have a meeting. She told me, well, it looked like it could have been your name. All I saw was an L and an I and another L.
No, ma'am.
So I thought, oh, his mom's name is Lillian. He must have been trying. And I was like, first of all, he can't even say Lillian in
You
first
got
grade,
all of that out of a
let alone
syllable.
first look. And I told her, I said, he can't even say Lillian, let alone spell Lillian, ma'am. And girl, so the long and short of it was she stereotyped our children. And so I ended up calling the other little boy's grandma and telling her, and she was like, oh, on the way, girl, we
Right.
had it out because number one, you made an assumption. Our boys were not even in the girls'
Yeah,
bathroom.
yeah,
And you derive from an L and an I that,
yeah.
oh, he must have been trying to write her name. Oh, it's her name. He must have did it.
Wow.
Girl,
Wow.
but that wasn't even the kicker. The kicker was the assistant principal apologizes to us profusely because we had already handled this situation and we had already determined your child didn't have anything to do with it. Your child wasn't even over there. The other child definitely went on. Girl, they weren't even in the same class.
What?
She just decided, oh, your child be doing stuff, so it'll be him. And they were like, and we told her that her assumption was wrong. We told her to let it go, do nothing. How did you even become aware of it? I said, because she called me. And they were like, you are kidding us. And girl, and they looked at her, they were like, we told you there was nothing that needed to be done. And she was just like, well, I just felt like it needed to be done.
Oh, wow.
Girl, and at that point, they were like, Mr. and Ms. Williams, y'all are free to go. We're going to handle this. Girl, and when I tell you, up until COVID, she was always profiling him. She was always labeling him. She was always making assumptions. Girl, we found out that she took it upon herself to physically punish the children in her classroom. So anytime those kids did something that she didn't want them to do, she would make them run laps outside. And when we found out about that, we went up there again. And my husband, girl, that was one time. Let me tell y'all something. Let me tell y'all something. Miss Williams is a little, yeah, I'm unstable, and y'all can see that coming a mile away. But baby, when Mr. Mister Mister get
Period.
on one, all I have to do is sit back.
Right, right, right,
And
right.
that day, that was his time to shine because he was
Yeah,
just like, hey, I'm gonna come in, and I act like I got sense, but it's hard for me when it's my babies. It's hard for me.
right,
But
right.
baby, my husband went up in there and was like, so the first thing I need you all to do is show me the policy where it indicates that you have any latitude to physically punish children. Girl, he went in there and I would just sit over there like,
Right.
that's my boo, that's my man, that's my man. And again, it was one of those situations where like, we have told you don't do this. Like they looked at her and was like, we told you you cannot do this.
Wow.
And she was just doing stuff herself. Why am I belaboring this point? I'm belaboring this point to say she is also giving our children assessments. So if
Yes,
this is a person who is with her
yes,
bias, right,
yes.
assessing our children for IEP,
Already.
for
They
behavioral support programs, for any
already got marked.
opportunities, she's
Already
already got the bias built
got
in. So if
yes,
something comes up and
yes,
it's negative, that's going to be the first
yes,
person she thinks
yeah,
of. If an opportunity comes up that's good, that's going to be the last person she thinks of. And so
yes.
this is why it's so important to identify these biases because again, like I
Woo!
tell my students, your assessments are contingent and subjective upon the person who's administering them. And if they already have in their mind that this little black boy don't deserve nothing, ain't gonna have nothing, ain't good for nothing, then they are going to skew
Yep,
the
that's
opportunities, the results, the
yep.
findings, whatever it is. And so this is why it's so important for parents. We have got to have hard conversations with our children. We have to be present. We have to advocate for them. And as I told a lady at school, you got to normalize when parents show up. Like, I
Yeah.
understand all parents don't show, but you don't understand. Most parents don't show up. And when they do show up, they cussing at us. Okay, how about y'all figure out how to work that out without making this big spectacle that these Black parents showed up for their kid? And I mean, we talk, but we're not cussing y'all out. I guess to her point, y'all ain't cussing, y'all ain't in night clothes. Shut up. Shut
What?
up. Normalize when a parent shows up for their child, right? This is how you build relationships, because again, this was first grade and had COVID not came in and knocked everything off the rails. What type of assessments would she have been giving him? What kind of results we have got? What kind of oh, you know what? I told him to do this. And she was one of those teachers that would tell the kids at 8 o'clock to sit down. And that one sit down was supposed to last until 3:15 when they got out of school.
All day,
And
right.
she just, well, I told him to sit down at 8 o'clock and it's 12:30 and he's up. I'm not telling him again, red light, but also preparing our kids for that, because they have to navigate those spaces too, where they're going to be unfairly assessed. They're going to have biases against them through no fault of their own. When I tell you, when we uncovered this story, it was so asinine, because it was the fact they were like, how did you even find out about this? Why did this even get to you? And we're like, because this lady called us. And they were like, are you kidding us? No.
Wow.
And girl, when
Wow.
they told us it was in a girl's bathroom, I was like,
Li.
girl, no, it looked like an L and an I. And she told me that. It looked like an L and an I and maybe another L. And
She
I thought,
said that.
oh,
She said that. She said
yeah,
that.
yeah.
And
And I thought,
it
oh,
makes
mom's
sense.
name is Lillian.
Right,
It must be him.
right. That made sense coming out of her mouth.
Girl, I told hell, look, he still struggled to say Lillian. Shit. Like, what you mean? That's what I told her. I said, he can't say it, let alone spell it. First grade. Come on, girl. But she didn't even consider that. And again, she put another Black child in it that had
Nothing to do.
nothing to do. This little boy was not even in her class.
Oh my gosh.
And again, these are the things we're having to navigate our children through. This was first grade. How do you explain to him that, baby, you're being racially profiled? And if it would have been up to her to determine who's the behavior problem in your class, our child's name would have been number one.
Right there.
And come
But
to find out, it wasn't him. It was
we
her.
still have these types of teachers, educators that's
Yeah.
in our school system.
Yeah.
Labeling was big time for our middle son. Bryce is huge. He's always been huge, but he is a big teddy bear. Won't bother anybody, but he was always labeled. When we realized that the language part was the barrier of him learning, and we didn't know that. He was diagnosed with ADD at that time. He just could not get it because it was that language barrier. I don't want to learn Spanish. Can they just teach me in English so I can know?
Right. Right.
If I hear it in English, I know what I'm doing,
I
right?
know what you're talking about. Right.
He
Right.
was like, "Mom, I can't do this." We didn't know. We couldn't figure it out what it was until he was labeled. He was always compared to CJ, but Bryce was the bigger one. So going back saying that he should have been emotionally mature because of how big he was, but yet he was still in the same grade as these other children. So he threw the ball a little harder. They were playing dodgeball and he threw the ball a little harder and it hit the kid and it hurt him. What? You
It's
called me?
dodgeball.
You
Look, and you hate to be that parent, but you like, well, did he dodge? I mean, like you,
did he duck?
right. Don't get me wrong. I don't want nobody's child to be hurt. I don't want my child hurt. I don't want
Yeah,
other people's children to be hurt. But
yeah,
come on now.
right.
Ours was imaginary football. I'm telling you, first grade was a Lulu girl, imaginary football. And the boys was playing football. And he kicked the little boy in the face. And the little boy is hurt. And we're like, they were playing football. And so we asked him, we were like, baby, what happened? He was like, I told him I was about to punt. And he didn't move. And we were like, valid. This is a football. This is the thing. This is what
His face was down there with my foot.
he told you he was about to punt. He was trying to get the field goal.
This
And
football.
this is more so of a coaching moment and not a behavior issue, right? Because look, telling a little boy when you sign up to play imaginary football. But I mean, it's legit like those types of things where they would just be like, well, he kicked somebody. You just said they were playing imaginary football and somebody got kicked. That is not an outlandish thing to have happened, right? Like, but he kicked him in the face. Well, why was his face down there, right? Because he was holding the ball. Well, he got a hold from the side because that's the rules. Laces out, laces out. Like, all these things that they expect our kids to just,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
well, it's okay for him to hit him back, but he used too much force.
Child,
No, that's
child.
just what happens, right?
I got
So,
a call about dodgeball, and I was like, you
girl, and that's what's killing me. Like, you mean the sport where the name of it is dodge. So if you don't dodge, what happened?
because my child was big and he threw the ball hard. What?
But y'all knew that for y'all let him play. Because
What?
again, if it would have been a smaller child throwing it, think about it. And that's what I told her. I said, if that little 6-year-old would have caught my
Yeah,
son just right and knocked him out, y'all wouldn't have said, oh my gosh, this little, y'all would be like, baby, you ain't gonna believe what
right,
happened to work today. This little 6-year-old boy just whack,
right.
mollywop this big old boy good, took him out. So I
Yeah,
don't want to hear it. Like, I don't want to hear it.
totally
I don't
different.
want to hear
Different.
it.
Okay, guys, I know that we
Okay.
have
All
run
right.
over,
Yes.
but this was something that we definitely needed to do. So, what do we do when we teach them? What do we do?
Right.
Despite it all, we've got to teach them. We got to teach them joy. This Black joy. I've been,
Boy Joy.
honey, I love
That's
it.
a book. That's a book.
Yeah,
Y'all should read it.
I heard. We teach them resistance through laughter, laughing to keep from crying. We teach about history because history will always repeat itself. Even
Mhm.
now, my boys are 22 and 19, and we're always talking about what happened in the past and how we're
Mhm.
seeing it now and how we're making connections with it. We're teaching them through knowing where they came from. They have to know what was in the past in order to know how to move through our present and our future. Those are some of the ways I know we can teach our children. There's so many other ways, but it's so much negativity out there. We've got to not continue to or perpetuate that, but at least talk about, okay, this is the other part of what you can do. My child is about to graduate from college and about to go into a whole different journey, and he has to know that he still can get through in spite of his skin color. He can still make
Mhm.
it. My child is graduate with honors. I've got to teach them that he still can make it,
Yeah.
even this world is saying something different, he still can make it. My middle son started out in school and he was like, Mom, I can't do it. Okay, come home and let's work on some classes. And he came to me, he was like, okay, Mom, I think I'm ready to go back out. Okay, go fly. Even though this world is telling him he is not going to make it, he still need to know joy. They still need to know that they can do it. It's going to be rough. It's going to be hard because the system was not designed for them, but they can still be able to navigate it. And as long as we are here to help them, they're going to do it.
Absolutely.
Woo.
James Baldwin. I love James Baldwin, first of all. Let me
Listen,
just say.
listen, when you talk about history, you've got to say James Baldwin. His name has
Because
got to come up.
I am not your Negro.
Yes,
Okay.
Lord. Yes,
But
yes.
James Baldwin said to be a Negro in this country and to be relatively conscious is to be in a rage almost all the
All the
time.
time. All
And
the
I
time.
want y'all to really hear that, like what that actually means, what he's actually saying. And think about when that was said versus where we are now. And we're not in that much of a different space. We also have to teach our children love, deep, radical, healing love. And
Yeah.
I'm going to just say this as a boy mom, hug y'all damn
Yes.
sons,
Yes.
hold their face
They get it
and
all.
tell them they are worthy, they are loved,
Get
they
it
are
all.
beautiful. Just give them that. The world is going to kick them at every chance they get.
Everything.
Don't kick them while they're at home. Let them lay on your lap. Clean their
Yes.
ears. That's what I do. I clean my baby's ears. But I be grooming them. My mama say I be grooming them. I be all in your scalp. What's this? What that right there? That's our time. That's my time. I'm loving on my boys. I let them lay in my lap and we talk and I see you good. We have conversations. They need that. They need a
Yes.
safe space where they know you don't have to put
Do.
the walls up at home. You can
Safe
come in,
space.
girl. I used to tell my older son all the time, never let them see you cry. You can cry. Don't let them see you cry. I said, if you just make it through the threshold, you can break down that threshold. Honey, mommy will come and pick you up, drag you across that threshold, and I got you. But you do not let this world see you cry. And I'll never forget one day that happened. My son came home. This is like in 2009, 2010. And I remember I heard him coming upstairs, and I opened the door, and that book bag fell off, and his head went back, his mouth did like, and that's okay. I picked him up, and I brought him in, and I let him have his moment, because this is the place where you can have that moment. You have to be tough in the world. You have to present a certain way to people, and I understand that. But love
Yeah,
your kids. Give them a safe space where they can be vulnerable, where they can ask questions, where they can tell you their fears, so you can help them navigate that. Help
yeah,
them have that joy.
yeah, yeah. They need to know that they're not broken.
Yeah.
Whew. They need to know that they are not problems to be solved, but
No,
people to be celebrated, right?
absolutely.
We name their gifts and we mirror back their worth.
Mm. Oh, I love it. Love it.
Honey, we got
I
to.
love it. Ooh.
This is your favorite part. This is your favorite part. So we are here
Mm.
now to reflect through our journal prompts. So take it on, sis. This is your thing.
This my thing, y'all know I love it. So as you're in your meditation and your prayer time, some things you can consider to write about or reflect on in your journal would be, what truth about your child do you want them to hold on to, no matter what the world says? And how
Ooh,
are you modeling that truth
ooh.
every day?
Don't rush through that.
Mm-mm.
Sit
Sometimes I write the prompts down and I write a little bit and I walk away and come back, because
back,
sometimes you just have to
sit with it,
let it
marinate.
marinate a little bit. And this is one that you really, especially
Yeah,
looking at what we're modeling to our children, for
yes,
sure. For sure.
modeling. Ooh,
Yeah.
modeling.
Yeah.
Yes, yes,
So,
yes, yes.
all
Right
right,
from
yeah.
the
If this episode touched something in you, we want to hear from you. What does parenting while Black look like in your world?
Mm. Y'all, we may have gone over a little. Look, sorry, not sorry. Again, conversations that are needed. We are here to have these raw, real conversations. And when these topics come up for us, these are from our experience, right? And these are from our thoughts, our emotions, our love. We try to keep within a certain time frame, but topics like this does take us over. Sorry, not sorry, but we do hope
Right.
that you stay with us to the end if this did resonate with you. Email us, drop us a comment. You can email us at info@mikesmomsmayhem.com, or there's a comment section on our website. We're not raising just survivors. We're raising scholars, creators, leaders, healers, and they need us to be whole too. So stay encouraged. Keep advocating for your babies. I hope that's one of the things that you heard from this,
Yeah.
is that we are huge advocates for our children. Will all have always been and will continue to be, because they need navigating. I don't believe at 18 they need to go fly. No, how?
No,
Their wings are not ready.
no.
Their wings are not ready at all.
No.
So yeah, they've graduated from high school, but they still need us. They still need
Yeah.
us to navigate, to
Yeah.
advocate. So keep nurturing, because parenting while Black is sacred work.
Ooh,
Honey,
that's
sacred.
deep right there. It's sacred and it's important. It's so
Yes, it
important.
is. Yes, it
It's so
is.
important. So if you find something that you agree with or you're connecting to, please share this episode with a friend, a fellow parent, an educator, a community leader, a decision maker. Go to the school board meetings and see what's being said, because a lot of times they will tell you what they think about our children by the programs that they support and the programs that they cut.
Say it.
So definitely share this where you feel like it's appropriate, and let's keep these conversations happening. Let's keep this conversation going.
Absolutely, absolutely. We would love to have questions and comments so we can be able to share with others and with our community. Follow us. We are on Instagram. We are on
Yeah.
Facebook. Our YouTube page is booming. We are on any podcast platform that you have: Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Spotify.
We were going to try to do something really big in 2026. We know we got to get some things together and do some things. I know we're just getting started, but y'all hang in there with us, because we
Yes.
have some really awesome ideas, some really good things planned, and we're hoping this will grow tremendously with you guys' support.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, we got to get out of here. Keep the mics on, the mom life real, and embrace the mayhem exactly how you like it. We will see you on the next episode. I am Kelly,
And I'm Lillian.
and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.